In on Danny and Friends right before the show, like 15, 20 minutes before we turn on the mics. We got some breaking news in the NBA. That is, and I can't believe it, honestly, the New York Knicks are firing Tom Thibodeau. I do Sports Sunday with Rashad, and he even said on Sunday that don't be surprised, or I wouldn't be surprised, something of the ilk, that if New York gets rid of Tom Thibodeau. And I said, why? Why? You literally just had the best season you've had in 20, 25 years. You improved upon what you did last year. Sure, you have a Pacers problem and a pace problem, but why would you fire him? And then sure enough, here we are on this Tuesday, and the New York Knicks have fired Tom Thibodeau.
Because the CBA exists. That's why. Because you can't fire players. And so when you need to make a change, you start with the coach. And it's harder to fire Carl, or it's impossible to fire Karl Anthony Towns because he doesn't fit, or Jalen Brunson because it's harder to build around him because of the two kind of figureheads of that team. And people go, well, Tibbs' offense is this and Tibbs' offense is that. And it's like, you just got somewhere you have not been in 25 years.
It seems just very short-sighted.
Every time I hear, whether it's this fan base or any fan base, complaining about coaches, and you talk to players and you talk to people in the league, and you're just like, people don't ever want to blame players. And they're like, well, Tibbs' defense isn't that good. He has Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns. Of course his defense isn't good.
Well,
you have one guy who is physically incapable of playing it and another guy who doesn't know how to play it. So, and the whole idea like, oh, it's a coach's job. No, it's not. No, it's not. You don't turn a player into something that they're not.
Trying to turn a player into a night in and night out defensive presence
when they haven't been one in a decade.
It's more so than a skill thing. That is purely mental, purely.
Oh no, it's a skill thing. That's the thing. That's the other part of this. Everybody wants to talk about defense being, attitude and intensity.
There is
and
skill, but there's a lot of it. Like, you need to have it on every single night, every single minute.
It's a difficult thing to do, especially when you're kind of an offensive hub. Like, Dame got killed for his defense, and I'm like, yeah, he does get killed for his defense, but he's also creating offense on a level that only 4 or 5 other guys are doing.
Spelling a lot of energy on one end of the floor.
And if you're going to do that, you can only have one of those guys, and having 2 of them in Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns, well, you're not maximizing Karl Anthony Towns offensively because Jalen Brunson's not a creator. It doesn't make a whole ton of sense. And here's what's kind of crazy. The coach of the year. So since 2016, here's one coach.
Fired.
There's one coach since 2016 that has not been fired up until 2024. So 8 of the last 10 winners have been fired. The only 2 who are still employed by their teams, Steve Kerr, Mark Dagnall. Steve Kerr won his in 2016. Since then, Mike D'Antoni, fired. Dwayne Casey, fired. Mike Budenholzer, fired. Nick Nurse, fired. Tom Thibodeau, fired. Monty Williams, fired. Mike Brown, fired. Mark Dagnall, not fired. And this year's winner, Kenny Atkinson, was fired by the Nets.
That's true. And if he has another couple seasons like this year where they're a great regular season team with no playoff.
If they don't go at least to the Eastern Conference Finals next year without injuries,
he's probably going to get fired.
If he's not fired, he's going to be on a hot seat because this is just what happens, because that's the move you make.
I think we definitely need to start getting the live reaction of these coaches when they are named Coach of the Year to see if they're happy or just like, oh, well, I'm screwed now.
No, it's like a kiss of death.
Yeah, exactly.
It really is. It's so crazy. And look, is Tibbs perfect? No. There's no coach that is. Like, this whole idea that the coach is going to come in and fix everything. It's going to be this. Remind me, was Greg Popovich great without Hall of Fame players? No. Has Eric Spoelstra been like taking the heat everywhere that they should be without Jimmy Butler? No. And again, they're some of the best coaches ever, and they do make a difference.
Hell, Spoelstra had that lapse over between the Heatles and getting Jimmy Butler where they were a middling 8, 9, 10 seed, something like that.
And sure, is he able to squeeze 2 to 5% more out of it? Yeah. And at the very, very, very top, when you have the very best talent, yes, that matters. That is when you'll get me to say, yes, that matters 100%. But the whole idea of like, oh, we're just going to fire our coach, like, and we're going to run it back. Every team Tom Thibodeau has left, have they gotten better?
I'm trying to think.
The Bulls did not get better. The Timberwolves did not get better.
They went down, and before they got Anthony Edwards with a #1 overall pick.
Weird.
Yeah.
Weird.
I want to read this quote from James Dolan, owner of the Knicks, from literally this year in March. He was on a podcast, The Roommates. Never heard of it, but
That's Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson's podcast.
oh, thank you. I did not know that was the name of it. Okay. This is James Dolan, quote, "There were times when we've sort of reached for that shiny, sparkly object. Maybe this is what we need, especially when things weren't going well. Let's bring in this guy. Maybe he'll turn it all around for us. Sometimes it's players, sometimes a coach. What I learned over time is that doesn't work. It really doesn't. You really have to do the fundamentals, the basics. You've got to build a team. You've got to build an organization. There is no waving a wand over a team and all of a sudden make it a great team. It doesn't happen." We are now 3 months removed from that quote and him talking to his very own players and going against that quote and apparently waving the wand and firing their head coach. You know what also is crazy to me? Like, what happens if game one doesn't end the way it does and how that series plays out? And the Knicks, like if the Knicks somehow, and also let's be fair, like the Pacers worked them essentially the rest of that series.
Sure. I mean,
But if that game, that 3-4 minute stretch of Nesmith hitting every three he took, like that totally changes the trajectory of that series and how it's being played, the mentality of both teams. What happens then? I know it's, wish in one hand and think of it in the other, like the hypotheticals, but that small moment to me changed a lot of how that series went and possibly what happens with Tom Thibodeau.
And there's one straight line you can draw with Tibbs' last two terminations. Karl-Anthony Towns.
Yeah.
Cat has gotten Tibbs basically fired twice.
See, and what kills me though is I thought Cat was, outside of a few games in the
second round, that's the problem.
The inconsistency.
There you go. That's look, Karl-Anthony Towns' talent is through the roof. He's a 7-footer who could shoot the living hell out of the ball. And we're like, they need to get Cat more involved in the offense. Cat needs to get himself more involved in the offense. Now, I'm not dismissing Tibbs and saying he's an offensive guru. That's not what I'm saying. But at some point in time, Cat's got to go to Jalen Brunson and go, give me the damn ball.
Yeah. Yeah, he brings it up and holds on to it until there's about 12 seconds left in the shot.
Look, Jalen Brunson's an incredible player, but is Cat the player, the perfect player to pair with Jalen Brunson? I don't think so.
Well, and that's where I think that this team had more roster problems. Like they needed someone else to make plays and have the ball and be able to set things. Like who is the backup point guard for the Knicks? I mean, is it Josh Hart?
No,
is it?
It's been some version of
Campaign.
It's been some version of Campaign.
Who didn't even play in the finals.
But and it was like, Tibbs should have played Deuce McBride and Mitchell Robinson more. And I'm like, if that's the retort,
yeah, like you're
grasping at straws. It means you have a roster problem.
Yeah.
But everybody wants to say, well, this coach needs and it does not matter whether it's it's so funny watching Warriors fans turn on Steve Kerr for not playing Jonathan Kuminga. And I'm like, so he's this greatest coach ever, but also he's terrible because he doesn't play a guy who doesn't fit, who doesn't make any sense, and doesn't do what he asked him to do. And it's like, no, that's not how this works. And I'm not saying Steve Kerr is faultless, but there's such a hesitance to lay any blame on the players. It's like fan bases in general, it's always the coach, it's always the coach, it's always the coach. And in the NFL, there's a lot straighter line, or in college football, there's a lot straighter. In the game of football, you can draw a straight line between bad coach, bad results.
Well, what kills me about this series too is that do we not think Tom Thibodeau was saying to his players, get your ass back on defense in transition the entire series. Like, we need to keep the pace up. We need to outrun them. We know they're going to be running back on offense every possession, so we need to – do we not think that he was doing that at all?
And that's the thing is, and then
if so, then yeah, maybe he should be fired. If he was just like, you know what, we're fine, guys.
Yeah.
Just,
Well, you also get then they just were tuning him out. And I'm like, okay, so they didn't tune him out for the entire season, but they tuned him out in the series against the Pacers? That's what you're telling me?
Yeah.
It's like, and again, Tibbs is not blameless. He's not faultless. Like he's rigid with certain things, but he's also been pretty damn successful, and he just led you to your best result in 25 years.
Now, and with the good comes the bad. Like I saw that, over his 5 seasons as the coach of the Knicks, he had 2 seasons of 50 wins or something like that. I got to find the exact stat. And then the previous 21 years, they'd only done that twice. But
he led them to consecutive 50-win seasons for the first time since the 90s.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that good?
One would think.
I would hope so for the Knicks fan base, but apparently for the Knicks front office.
Most Knicks fans that I know are like, yeah, no, we all expected this, and this needed to happen. I'm just like, Okay.
Jeff Russ, you got that the spread stat for the Knicks where they were in like games 4
boy,
and
where
game
was
7?
that? Yeah, it said it like on the money line. The Tom Thibodeau coached teams were like 18 and 37 on the money line in games 4 through 7 of a playoff series, and that ranked him like dead last out of 79 coaches over the last 20 years.
Yeah, if you can find the exact stat, because there
me
is
see what I
part
can
of me
find.
that's like, well, all right, that doesn't sound exactly like the most clutch coach I've ever heard. And like literally, statistically speaking, that it, as Jeff said, it's one of the worst in history.
Mhm.
So there's part of me, it's like, are they looking at that? But I just don't. I don't see where the front office is like, all right, we're gonna get way better than what we just did.
Who's the hire?
Like yeah, exactly, like who's out there that's like, oh, Tom was great, but this he's gonna put us over the
You're
edge
probably
now.
looking at a first-time head coach.
Yeah, an assistant. I mean, I know that's where the Suns are looking right now. Like in New York, like I don't know. I think it is very just like overreactionary. My feeling after the Knicks season is over is like run it back with the same stars, the same core that you have. You just need to add depth, and you need to add someone behind Brunson that can run the offense and can handle the ball and set players up. Because while he can somewhat do that, he is more so scoring oriented and being the guy. And
I
which
would be
is,
looking for how you can move Karl Anthony Towns. That's what I would be trying to do.
see, and I understand that sentiment, but there is part of me that's like, then you got to find someone that's got to put up offense outside of him, which on the team currently, who's that? Is it OG? Is it McHale?
Well, that's the thing is you gave up
it's-
5 first-round picks for McHale, and you did not get the value out of him. You can
Yeah.
say, well, that's Tibbs' fault. It's like, at some point in time, it has to come down to the players and getting other guys involved and making sure you're doing the things that you need to do. And I think it was I've mentioned this so many times over the last week or last 2 weeks. I think it was Stan Van Gundy. If I'm wrong, please somebody correct me. But they were talking about pace and the Pacers themselves, and he said it doesn't matter what pace a coach wants to play at. You're going to play at the pace of your point guard. And that ethos, because they're on the ball, they're deciding. And you can tell a guy to go fast as much as you want, but if they're not a player that plays fast effectively, efficiently, and does the things that you need to do to play fast, you're just not going to. There's no amount of coaching. Like it's like telling a possession wide receiver in the NFL, we want you to be a guy that takes the top off the coverage now. That's not who he is. That's not what he does. Like even if he has the quote unquote tools. Could Jalen Brunson run fast down the floor and get in the offense faster? Sure. But his whole mindset, his whole mentality is I'm a smaller guard who has thrived on getting into the paint, setting guys up, operating the pick and roll, and having elite level footwork to put guys in pretzels and compromise positions defensively and then create for myself. That's who he is. And if you're building an offense around that, how effectively can you do that if you don't have secondary creators on the other side? If you don't have somebody else who can operate as a primary ball handler? If you don't have other guys that are going to be aggressive? And I think that's the big thing where it's like coaching should do that. No, it shouldn't. It is your general manager / president's job to put the players together that make the most sense in concert with coaching.
Well, you saying putting the players together, I was going to get to this in the